Hello everyone and welcome to the Ocean Impact Podcast, where we share stories of inspiration, innovation, leadership and good business to create an abundant and sustainable ocean. In this episode, we sat down with Pete Ceglinski from the Seabin Project. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the last few years, you know about Seabin. These are those incredible innovations that suck in seawater from marinas and ports and take out the trash. We've got garbage bins all over our planet. Why don't we have them in the ocean? Pete is going to tell us all about this. In the conversation, he does mention an upcoming fundraiser. Seabin actually just finished and they raised $1,825,000 from people like you, the public, in their crowd equity fundraise. An incredible effort. So you are going to find more and more Seabins going in all around the world thanks to the wonderful support. I hope you enjoy this episode. Remember, if you like it, please share it, comment, write a review, and if you haven't got a question, send it our way. I hope you enjoy this episode of the Ocean Impact Podcast.
Can't take the ocean out of me.
Okay, mate, well, here we are. This is a pretty nice opportunity to get to have a chat with you about Seabin Project and all the work that you've been doing in recent years, and so thank you so much for your time. I think we could probably safely say our relationship does go back a few years as allies in the fight against plastic pollution, and I've got a heck of a lot of respect for you, so really looking forward to this chat.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's a pretty awesome spot you got.
Yeah, so we're at Manly Beach, and the ocean isn't doing a lot today, so we thought we'd do a podcast instead. So on the subject of the ocean, just tell me a little bit about your relationship with the ocean, maybe even share some stories or anecdotes where the ocean has had that big impact on you in your life.
I grew up in northern New South Wales, and I guess when you grow up on the coast, your parents are pretty worried about you if you're playing around the water, and so you learn to swim pretty early. And part of that was we joined Nippers when we were maybe 7 or 8, I think, up until we were 18, within the surf club. And because we lived a little bit off the coast, up in Gooningary and then Mullum, we used to stash our surfboards at the surf club there and ride 12 kilometres to get to the beach, surf all day and then ride home. And it's pretty fun, just sort of. And I guess you kind of get this respect for the ocean built into you, or kind of forced on you, when you start to see some more serious conditions. And but then I realised that we kind of take this for granted, and we only realise how good we do have it here in Australia on the coast until you leave and then you go somewhere else and you see the conditions and the the less than ideal the amount of pollution that's in the water, or just the volumes. And when you come back, you're like, wow, Australia, we've definitely got first world problems here, So, but no, the ocean's been a pretty big thing for me. I don't know. It's not like I don't go into the ocean consciously to try and cleanse myself or anything. I just go in there and have fun, and I guess the byproduct of that is getting, you get a bit de-stressed or relaxed or something. And I definitely found that when you're sitting out there maybe waiting for a wave or something, that's when you think the most. But as soon as you catch a wave, I guess you find a state of flow, because you're so concentrated on trying not to kook it or fall off, that you stop thinking about business or your stress or any of the issues you're facing. And I found that as well with a bit of free diving. When you're under the water and you're looking at other things that is just amazing, and you forget about your daily troubles. So I guess the ocean really helps a lot and makes you feel good and keeps you positive. So yeah, it's also very destructive and quite challenging at times.
Absolutely. I guess you've seen a lot of that through both surfing, but also done quite a bit of sailing.
Yeah, I'm like growing up in the Byron Shire. Like we didn't have any marinas. We were just little surf rats and this a bit of fishing and spearing and stuff. But when I first moved to Manly, started building boats, and I was really good at it. But I was never a sailor. And then after I finished my career in industrial design, I people found out I was heading overseas, and I used to do a bit of boat building, and I was really good at it. I don't know how, but I was just like, I was good with my hands, and so I was never a proper sailor, but we'd do a lot of deliveries, but like surfing like a 6 metre wave on a 90-foot yacht, doing like 32 knots down the face of it. It's a pretty amazing thing.
Certainly feel pretty humble, don't you?
Then you get broadsided by another 6 metre wave, and it's pretty hectic, yeah.
Yeah, can't imagine the incredible power that provides against the craft as well, and then obviously therefore your design, just thinking about how you can withstand this immense power of the ocean.
Yeah, and it actually hits another factor of personal safety. Like you're building these yachts that are designed to go like 2.5 times the speed of wind, and then you have this factor of death. These things are like just hooking along, and they're so fragile, but high performance stuff. I mean, it's pretty serious stuff.
People would rather go faster than necessarily, worry about their safety sometimes. I imagine.
Like look at the dudes driving the Grand Prix. The Formula Ones. Like, oh my god. But they get their buzz from it. That's for sure.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about that time in your life when you were doing your industrial design, product design. Were you fueled by environmental attitudes then? I've heard you talk a little bit about how some of those products you were creating in those early days had planned obsolescence, and did that start to eat away at you at all?
I've never been an activist or a greenie or any of that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, I think naturally I have that in me of just conservation. And like my old man was a timber cutter, but he was a selective logger. He would go in and take one log from here, and then 600 metres away they would take another one, and there was regeneration, and so we've never really been like vocal in your face frontline activists or anything. We still aren't really, but it's definitely, I guess, a respect for the environment that is ingrained maybe within myself a little bit, that has kind of given me these values. And when I was a industrial designer, like, it was great, man. I was designing all this cool stuff, and like one day I was at the chemist in Byron, and I was paying a post bill or something, and I had no shoes on, no shirt. I had sandal, and zinc across my face, and just looked like a bit of a scumbag. And there on the shelf was a baby toy that I'd designed, and I picked it up, and I was like, this is a moment, like, this is cool. And the lady comes up, she's like, "Can I help you? Do you want to buy that?" I'm like, "No, it's cool." She's like, "Oh, it's a really good one." I'm like, "Hey, I designed this." And she's looking at me and like, "Nah." I'm like, yeah, see these dots here, and it was a real challenge to do the overmolding and this and that. And it was pretty cool, but I got a bit disillusioned because I tried to simplify everything in that job as an industrial designer, and everything else I've been trying to like keep things simple, and unfortunately the management weren't that keen on it, and they preferred a bit more complicated stuff, and so we would overcomplicate designs, and it was a bit disheartening. And then the other thing that was disheartening was like you get a client come in and he wanted to do this product that you really didn't need it. It was like more of a whimsical sort of, I don't know, it was a gimmick or something, and you're like, "You don't need this, mate." And he's like, "I want it." And then the boss would be like, "You got to do it." And you're like, "Oh man, like, this is just another shitty product that's going to be on the shelf for maybe 6 months and then ditched, and it's just, yeah." And so, I started to get a bit disillusioned, and I was a bit off it, and I don't know, I just sort of just quit and bailed overseas.
So we spoke a little bit about that just then, this time that you were, well, it was quite some time, wasn't it? 11, 12 years that you were in Europe, and mostly in Italy in that time?
Yeah, I'm 41 now, so it's all sort of a bit hazy, all that period, but yeah, it's a while ago.
And so you're in Europe, you've, sort of sounds like you've fallen on your feet with these jobs doing the boat building. It must have been a pretty exciting time. Tell us a little bit about that experience in your life.
Yeah, well, I was in Brazil, and I just got an email, and then we jumped on a call and stuff, and it was some mates that I'd done like a couple of years of just labouring up in Motorvale McConaughey boats, and they're like, "Hey Pete, you know, we heard you got a visa for Italy," and I'd got a visa because had an interview with I think it was Hitachi for industrial design, and I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Come and work with us." You know, like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we're building boats, mate. Come over." And I'm like, "Oh, where are you?" You know, "Oh, we're in Italy working for America's Cup," and I was like, "Oh wow," you know. And then yeah, I just came in. They just needed an extra pair of hands. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just followed orders, you know, and do this, do that. So I'd do it, and had a bit of common sense, and you know, you knew how to use power tools. So I had all my fingers and all my digits and that. It was all good. And then yeah, just one thing led to another. It kind of like snowballed into this career of building high performance racing yachts out of possibly the most toxic stuff you could imagine. And like, it was great. Like, I was getting heaps of money, and I was, you know, pretty carefree. I'd roll around with like surfboard and a you know, backpack sort of thing, and go from country to country, and they'd pay me to go around the world. And in my time off, I'd just go for a wave, and then when we were working, we just head down and get stuck into it. And it was a great experience, and I got to visit, like, I can't remember how many countries I've been to. I'd go around the world 3 times a year.
Wow.
I haven't paid for a flight. I didn't pay for a flight for 12 years.
Wow.
Or a hotel, you know, or a meal or anything. Like, it was all paid for, and it was, you know, it was the cushiest job ever. But I met my mate who, you know, became a business partner, and I met him in China, and then we, you know, the racing circuit's kind of all the same, and same people, all different teams. We all go everywhere, and then we're in Miami, and my team, and we had just won the world championships in this regatta, and you know, the next morning we're in the hotel off to the airport, and Andrew's like, "Oh, I got this idea," and he told me. I was like, "Mate, this thing's a game changer." He's like, "Oh, I don't know what to do, you know, maybe I'm sell it at Bunnings for $50 or something." And I was like, "No, man, like, this is next level." And he's like, "I don't know what to do, mate." I was like, "Well, I used to do that for a living," and that was my light bulb moment where I could, you know, personally tick off things that I've always wanted, which was, I've never helped anyone else in my career. I always made money for myself. I'd sometimes help my family, but you know, it was all, I made my money, I spent it, I enjoyed it, but it was never have a career where you could help others or help the environment. So that was a big tick, tick, tick. And then the other tick boxes were design, engineering, and getting to stay on the water and have a bit of fun, and possibly shape a business model into something that I'd enjoy, and hopefully other people would enjoy as well.
Unreal. So here we are. So what year is this when you meet Andrew? Or we already shares the idea with you?
Maybe like 2010, 2012 or 2013.
So still very early days for the conversation about plastic pollution. Like, what was it about? You said it was a game changer. Was that because you had an acute awareness about the problem, or you just thought this innovation is incredible?
Well, around that time, like on my Facebook feeds, this young dude kept popping up everywhere. It was Boy and Slat, you know, and then the whole story got sensationalised. You know, the floating islands, it's the size of Texas, and there's, you know, all this type of thing, and it wasn't actually accurate, but the whole world took notice.
Everyone's attention.
And that's what kind of got my attention. Like, you know, if you see rubbish on the street and you walk along and it just becomes normal, and, you know, it was, I don't know, like, everywhere we went, you know, we saw it, but it didn't really kick home until the media sensationalised it, and then millions of other people as well. And so I guess that's when I kind of knew the game changer was there. We kind of knew it before, but then we realised, you know, that, oh my God, you know, this is like an emerging blue economy. It's something that's never really been done because the problem is new. You know, in the non-profit world, you guys have been chipping away for ages. I didn't know anything about that. I've never done anything non-profit. I kind of got thrown in a deep end with a viral video, and, you know, just sort of, I don't know, lucked out.
So tell me about that. So you've got the innovation, you've obviously forged that relationship and said, we're going to do this. When did you know that crowdfunding was the way to go? And tell us a little bit about that experience with crowdfunding.
Yeah, well, we got together and we probably spent 2 years just talking about it, and, you know, like, having a beer after work and having a bit of a tinker, and then we'd get busy and all the surf would be good. And we never really got serious. But I was in Italy again, actually in the same place, like probably 12 years later, in exactly the same factory. And it was snowing on the hills, but in the valley where we were, it was just raining every day, and it was horrible and depressing. And I kept thinking about the Seabin, I kept thinking about this and that, and I was like, you know what, like, I'm going to do this. And so I spent 6 months sort of quietly squirreling away my money and making a few plans, and then just getting this one day at work where I was like, I'd had enough, and I was like, hey boys, I'm out. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm quitting. I'm like, why? I'm going to do Seabin. They're like, you're an idiot, mate. Like, no, it's cool. I'm all over it. And they're like, oh, and then I literally quit, and I'd saved up like 60 grand and went to the Mentawais, went surfing for 2 weeks, and then came back and found a place in Spain in the city we were living in and renovated it with a bunch of mates. And we bought the domain name, registered the business, found some expensive lawyers, and then all of a sudden my 60 grand was gone. It was like, well, we're broke, what are we going to do? And I'd heard about crowdfunding, where if you had an idea, people gave you money, and you could either give them like gifts or thank yous, or you could give, it was pretty awesome. And so we started off on Kickstarter, and we raised like 20 grand, I think, in a week. And then they kicked us off because we had a prototype, and within the rules, the prototypes were okay. It had to be a working prototype, but like 2 weeks before we started, there was this dude with a laser razor who'd raised $4 million, and it turned out it wasn't a laser, it was just like a hot wire. And it was really embarrassing for Kickstarter, and so they like cracked down on everyone that had a prototype, including us. And we were like, oh shit, what do we do? So we saw that Laser Razor guy had gone to Indiegogo and done the same thing and raised like another 2 mil or something. So we're like, well, let's do what he did, but at least ours works. Yeah.
Everyone who should know that crowdfunding is incredibly hard. So you'd obviously put a lot of energy into the Kickstarter to make it work, or
yeah,
was it?
Yeah, I was gutted, man. We raised 20 grand,
and you're on your way.
Yeah, and there was like, how do we even? They kicked us off. We couldn't even talk to the people to say, hey, come to Indiegogo. And so we had to start from scratch, and we had 4.5 weeks. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, because for the first 3 weeks, you got all these environmental agencies on the internet squealing about a problem of ocean plastics, and then the next thing they're squealing about is we need a solution. And there I was in my factory with an iPod, with my phone, an iPad, and my laptop, like an octopus, working on all 3 devices to speak to all of them, saying, hey, we've got a solution. And we got blocked by everyone. We got ignored. They literally told me, like, stop messaging us. And I was really disheartened. I was like, what a bunch of tools. And then somebody replied to me saying, hey, look, you guys are a conflict of interest. If we advertise what you do, then the people that donate money to us will donate it to you, and so we don't get anything, so we're sorry, mate, And I was like, well, I'm not even asking for money. I just want you to share or give it a like or give it a mention. And but it was this massive conflict of interest, and that was my first foray into the competitive and very political not-for-profit world, which I was pretty disappointed about. And that was one of the things where I was like, if we ever have a not-for-profit, we're going to be the cool one, we're going to share our toys and share the data and bring other people in and just be good people, And but then we struggled for like 3 weeks. I'd raise maybe 50 grand or so, and we needed to raise 150,000 euros, and I'd raised 50,000 euros. And but then one night, and I was doing like maybe 20-hour days every day. Like, it was pretty hectic trying to get traction. And then one day, like, this French blog guy, he reposted on his blog, and he got 11,000 views on our video. So I was really strategic with our video, and the only way you could see the video was if you went to Indiegogo and clicked on that video. We didn't put it on YouTube, we didn't put it on Facebook. I did all these
You
sneaky...
wanted the traffic to go
Yeah,
there.
we just had to funnel people to the thing because I was like, I'm lazy. So if I see that video on Facebook, I'm not going to on-click, it's too hard. It's like 3 clicks,
Friction,
I'm
yeah.
over it. And so I got really sneaky and I did a screenshot of the video, used Photoshop to put that play button on it, but it was actually a hot link that would like sneak you to the Indiegogo page, and it did it. And this dude, this French guy, like, he shared the video, the link, to the video, and it just went viral. 11,000 views wasn't viral, but then it turned into 11 million views, and then 17 million views. And then I realised how the media works, which was not many big news outlets take a punt on something new unless someone else has. And so it had this snowball effect as well. And so all of a sudden you got Bored Panda, Huffington Post, Now This, all the major news channels that had 12 million followers or 4 million, and they just went nuts on it.
They put their little watermark on it.
Yeah, we had people ripping off our video, like just sort of reworking it into their own initiative type thing with
But
their
by
own
that
logo
stage,
on
I
it.
guess you had enough momentum that you weren't so concerned about it.
Well, we didn't care, man, because like
getting
people were
eyeballs.
looking at our stuff. They were looking at our logo as much as Mr. David Avocado Wolf or someone else that ripped it and sort of kind of claimed it a little bit. But he helped as well, like it was good. And then YouTube. One of the sales people sent me an email saying, "Hey Pete, your video's gone viral," and by then someone had ripped it, and then we decided to share it and stuff, and YouTube were like, "Hey, you can monetize your video views because you're getting millions and millions of views," and we're like, "Oh, cool, that sounds great." We got hardly any money, and we just, we need to get this going, and then they sent me the document. It was quite a large legal document, and I had to read through, and it was pretty much like anyone that uses that video, they're going to approach and with a cease and desist, or you got to pay $6 or you can't use your video. And I was thinking, fuck that, like there's schools, there's kids, there's really good people out there that are using this video and sharing it. I'm not going to charge them money for it. Let them go, and anyone that wanted to share it, we're like, yeah, go for it, mate. And we set up a Vimeo where you could download the video, you could put it on your own channel, you could share it, and there are all these marketing people like, mate, you got to control your shit, you got to do this and that. We're like, we don't care, mate. Like, this is for the better, this is like, it's giving us a lot of credibility, and people are seeing it. Like, we don't mind. And it, 1.3 billion views later, this accidental viral video happened, but then so after this French blog dude shared it, we started making like 20 grand a day, maybe 30 grand, 36 grand sort of thing, and in the last sort of 2 weeks or week and a half, but it was about 2 weeks, we actually hit our target, but
Which was?
it was 150,000 euros, but we oversubscribed and it went to like 160, I think. And then the euro, the currency conversion was insane because that translated into $362,000
Australian.
Aussie. Yeah, which was just like amazing. And but it screwed me up, man. Like I was doing like 20-hour days, 23-hour days sometimes towards the end. I was like a zombie that only left my factory to go and like buy food, and I didn't drink coffee for 3 years because it gave me this new thing called anxiety that I'd never known before. I'd never ever been depressed or had anxiety or any of this sort of stuff, and I was like, what are all these emotions? Why do I feel like the world's falling on me, and why do I feel like a failure, and why am I actually doubting myself? And it was the anxiety and stress caused by this crowdfunding that I realised I couldn't drink coffee because it like doubled everything, and it's like, yeah, for 3 years, like, it screwed me up.
I think that's really important. Maybe we let you open up on that a little bit more, because crowdfunding is obviously such a powerful tool, and you're about to do it again in a different way. But tell us, and maybe tell the listeners, like, what can you understand about crowdfunding? What are its strengths, and what are you got to be really concerned about when you're thinking of it?
I guess when you're crowdfunding, you know, you're opening yourself up to the public, and there's a lot of trolls and critics out there, and they really tear people down, and it's hectic. Like, we got so many trolls that were like, Seabins are a sham, and this is all a con, and you guys suck, and the Seabins are too small, you'll never make a difference, just give up now, and all this sort of shit. We're like, who are these people? Like, what gives you the authority? Why are you even hating on us? Like, we're trying to do something that has these knock-on effects that are positive. What do you do, mate? But anyway, they're online trolls, and they really tear you down. And anyone that tries to do anything good, people have like suspicions about like automatic human behaviours, like what's he hiding or what's he doing, and I don't know, like the biggest thing was stay positive, work your butt off and stay positive again, and just be as open and honest and transparent as you can, because if you're trying to hide anything, or if you're trying to if your idea is good but not great and you're telling people it's great, people will be like, nah mate, it's only average, or it's good. The internet's so harsh, man. People troll you, they research you, they make up their own shit about you anyway. And you can't hide anything, I don't think. So authentic, tell a positive story. Like, we never showed any dead animals or fish cut open or dead whales and stuff, because personally I didn't like it. It was like, it made me feel bad. And when I started this, I reached out to Flowhive on a Facebook message, and I was like, hey Cedar, what's your secret, mate? You just made 12 mil, crowdfunding. And he goes, make people feel good about themselves and stay positive. I was like, okay. I was like, how the hell are we going to do this when we clean up the shittiest stuff in the water, and what we do is disgusting? And I was like, oh, hang on, the outcome of pulling all that shit out of the water is it's cleaner, or it will be cleaner, and every little bit counts. And I was like, well, let's focus on the cleaner oceans, let's focus on the outcome, which is positive stuff, and let's just not show dead shit, and let's make people feel good about themselves. And so that was a really big thing for us. I don't know, just definitely visual communication works. Well, for me, like I swear I'm like a bit dyslexic or something, and like I mentioned last night, that spreadsheets just hurt my brain. It doesn't work properly, and I can do it, but it's a struggle. But visual learning for me is like a huge thing, and visual communication, and so like we didn't have money to buy have photographers and that, so we just bought like an average camera and tried to get good at it by copying what other people did, and it's started to pay off. And iMovie is such an amazing yet simple and basic movie editing tool. Like, I made our pitch video on iMovie.
So the tools are out there if you want to do this. You've really got no barriers to getting out there and and another thing was that I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't even know still don't know marketing or anything, but YouTube, Google, asking questions, asking stupid questions, and putting your hand up whenever you don't know anything has literally got me to here, which we're not like massive or anything, but we're sort of on the way, on the journey. But just really upskilling yourself, and the biggest thing I think to any of this smaller, I don't know, we're not successful yet, but we're getting a bit of traction, is identifying your weaknesses and then finding a solution for it. So my weakness was business. When I was trying to start a business, and my weakness was the same thing, and so I found the business people to jump in and help me. And so that's a few things I guess I learnt through trial and error. I'm definitely not like a professional or anything. It's just learning from my experience of what worked and what didn't. Awesome. I'm conscious you're copping a bit of sun there. Do you want me to move the umbrella across more into the middle, or you dealing okay?
That's all right. Let's just smash this out.
All right, mate.
I'm gonna. Right. All good. No, I got a couple of things to do in a minute. Cool.
Okay, so a couple of numbers there on the crowdfunding raise. So you mentioned before somewhere around 1.3 billion views on the viral video, 7,336 people ended up contributing to make that 360 odd thousand Australian dollars. So then you go into 2 years of development. This is about 2016, correct? You go into 2 years of development.
So on the 28th of December in 2015, my computer mouse broke because I had a laptop for the 3D design and engineering, and then I had a laptop for other stuff and then all the other devices, but I needed a mouse to do the design and engineering, and I was still designing the Seabin, and my mouse broke, and so I went to go and buy one, and it was like, no funds or something was the message on that little thing that you press. And I was like, oh shit, what's going on here? And I went to the bank and I went to pull some money out, and it said like you got like minus $12. And and then it was actually the 30th of December, I remember that. And I was like, fuck, I'm out of money. Like, I'm literally got minus $12 in my life. And so I went to my van and I went through all my clothes and my pockets and, under the seat of the couch and stuff like that. And I found like, I think it was like $18 or something. And I went and bought like I think it was like a $10 computer mouse, like the cheapest one I could find that worked. And then I bought like an $8 bottle of wine. And, 24 hours later, we were successful. Our crowdfunding finished on the 31st of December. And so on the 1st of January 2016, we had, this funds available. And and then we went into in the video, it was like, look guys, we're doing this to raise money to make the prototypes and develop the commercial stuff. And so we had 18 months of doing that. After 18 months, we had a product. And then I didn't really want to reinvent myself too many times, so we found a company that were based in France that built marinas, had a sales and distribution network in the marina industry, and they weren't struggling, like they were pretty successful, but they were definitely had roadblocks where they couldn't get into competition marinas. So one brand of marinas locked up that market, and this brand was over here, and they were trying to take over regions and stuff, and so we partnered up with them and gave them an exclusivity agreement, and their objective was to get into marinas they couldn't, using the Seabins as the getting in the front door sort of thing, and it worked. Together we scaled from 6 countries that they already had into 52 countries in 18 months, and it was pretty amazing.
Awesome. So the numbers now in 2020, 860 Seabins, 52 countries, and now we get down to the stuff that I just get so fired up about. So is it 600,000 litres of water being filtered each day, each unit, and that adds up to 500 million litres of water being filtered every day? Yeah,
it's mental. So each Seabin is powered by an electrical water pump. It's a submersible water pump. For us, starting in the ocean was just, it wasn't going to work, It's like, you got ocean storms, you got shipping, you got 100-foot waves, you got beautiful conditions, but it's just so volatile, and we're like, well, bugger that, let's just, we haven't got that much money. We had, 360k is a lot of money, but it's actually insignificant in the bigger picture of what we were trying to do. And so we started in ports, marinas and yacht clubs, and what that meant was we had staff that would look after the Seabins, and we could plug it into electricity because the tech's not magic, it needs to be powered by something, and so we did that, and the pumps filtered 25,000 litres of water an hour, and so over a 24-hour period it's 600,000 litres per day per unit, and then times that by 860, and that's when you get your 500 million litres of water being filtered every day. For microplastics, plastic fibres, oil, big stuff, and that's a pretty insane number.
It really is. And
then to run the pump, to run the Seabin, Australian is $4.40 per day of electricity. But that's $4 of electricity that is going to pulling the shit out of the water. It's not, you're not running a PlayStation off it, or just watching the telly or something. It's it's really positive stuff.
And the thing for me, obviously those numbers are so real, and is it in terms of the amount of heavy pollutants, the actual trash we could call it each day, is it about 3,600? How much is it each day that you think you're collecting with this current fleet of?
Yeah, so it's an estimate, it's approximate.
Yeah.
It's 3.6 tonnes per day.
Yeah.
And the way we worked that out was we've been collecting data for like 4 years now of what each Seabin collects, and we know that the average is 3.9 kilograms per day of marine litter, and that could be like leaves and plastic. It can be just plastics, or it could be all leaves, but it definitely varies from location to location. But it's 3.9 kilos of marine litter, and so the marine litter is everything. It's all mixed up, and some locations don't get anything on a day, and another location will get 120 kilos, and it just depends on the weather condition, whether it's flooded, how many people live in the area, waste services and all this. But the global average is 3.9, and so over the course of a year it's 1.4 tonnes of marine litter that each unit will collect, and then we use that rule of thumb and apply it to 860 units, and man, it starts to add up.
Totally. And what I was trying to get out there is obviously those numbers are profound, but it's the inspiration, I think, which is the other side of the story, right? You've got a physical object there which is mitigating and removing a problem, but the people that supported you in the crowd, the people that are out there now crowdfunding to put these units in their local area, and how this is spreading around the world to inspire and educate.
Yeah, that was astounding, something we could never have anticipated. And I guess it was through like the successful work from you guys and other non-profits of getting that awareness, because people are becoming aware. And when you got a kid telling you about like a plastic straw and some statistics and stuff like that's, that kid might be like 10 years old, you're like, holy shit, like people know the problem. And so but what we found was that people were getting really frustrated because they're doing their personal steps to reducing plastic in their lives, refusing plastic items, but they still see that crap in the water, and they're getting frustrated, and they're like, well, where's a more of a tangible solution, or where's a physical solution that is going to pull it out? Because we're doing our part, but it takes time, and I guess we all get impatient, and people just wanted to see physical things happening and getting pulled out. And then we were really I guess lucky, because we started upstream where we could use the Seabin as like part of a solution, and the real solution is the education, in our opinion, because we shouldn't have this shit in the water anyway. Like, plastics can be reused, and it shouldn't be thrown away, and it shouldn't be in the ocean, so we shouldn't even have Seabins. But the best thing about the Seabin was that it was visible, and we could use it for the prevention and awareness and create educational and science programs based on this rubbish bin / pool skimmer that was put in the water, and it was something we could bring schools down to, and people could learn about it, and they could physically see it being collected, and they could also see it when it came out. And I don't know, like, we got really lucky. I think the timing was just amazing. I got to say this though, that we knew that the ocean cleanup were launching on like February or March or something in 2016, and so we got quite strategic, and we're like, well, we have to launch on the 1st of January, and we have to beat them to the punch. Like, that was my first like strategic little objective, and I haven't actually told Boyan that, so if you're listening.
I like it. Let's talk a little bit about business. I've heard you sort of describe how Seabin Project, the for-profit, is that sort of reactive. It's getting in there and mitigating a problem, but then you've also got the foundation, which is sort of proactive, which focuses on the education. So tell me a little bit about the business structure and how you came to these conclusions, and where it's going next.
Yeah, I got to admit, like, we weren't strategic. We didn't actually know what we were doing. We just kind of felt it was the right thing to do, and it was a bit self-indulgent, because I didn't want to be a hypocrite, be branded one as well, and so it was out of self-interest that this all started, which isn't a bad thing, I guess. So when the video went viral, everyone was like, sick, Seabins in the water, we can throw our shit in the water and the Seabins will collect it, everything's gonna be cool. you know, and we're like, no, like the Seabins are here because you're throwing your crap in the water, or maybe you're not, you know, it's leaking in, and the message was wrong in a lot of places throughout the internet, but people were like, you know, rejoicing, Seabins are going to save the world. The media was saying that Seabins are going to save the world, and we're like, no, they're not. Like, the only thing that's going to save the world is ourselves, you know, stop being idiots. And so we had the power of that viral video. We had the power of communication because people started to benchmark us because they saw us on a video on the internet, and, you know, if you're on Facebook, it must be official and all that sort of shit. And so we decided that we were going to use the power of communication to tell the right story, which was education is the solution, and the tech's only one little part of it. And that's kind of how we embarked on it. And the other one was reading that book, The Let My People Go Surfing by Yvonne Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia. And when I read his book, like, I could only read half of it because I didn't understand the back half about the business stuff, but I just knew that this guy was successful. He did a really good and environmentally conscious product that they put a lot of time and effort into, and they also invested in the environment, and that's where we saw the words put together of for-profit conservation. And so when we started this, we had a choice to be for-profit or not-for-profit, and the reason we chose for-profit was, again, a bit of self-interest, because I don't own a home, and I want to buy a block of land or something and have a house and support my children and put food on the table. And I actually more wanted financial independence to make our own decisions and, you know, set our own destiny. And I didn't really want to beg people to give us money. And so we're like, let's do this properly and we'll make money. You know, we are for profit, we make money. It's not bad to make money. And then we'll use part of that to focus on education and funnel that thing back into not-for-profit. And we didn't have an income, and we were still doing that. And we didn't actually have an accountant. That's why we did it. Because if we had an accountant, it'd be like, you're an idiot, mate. Like, keep your money and spend it on a lawyer or, you know, this other shit. And we just went for it, which then created a community of people that supported us. They supported the not-for-profit activities. They loved the education. They loved their kids being involved. And then all of a sudden we had these, like, tens of thousands of people lobbying local councils to buy the Seabins, which is, you know, creates the revenue that we need to stay alive. And so it was just this real accidental sort of business model of investing in not-for-profit to then turn the wheels of the for-profit, which invests in the not-for-profit, and just that circle keeps going. And essentially the Patagonia guys kind of started all that, and yeah, I don't know, we've just sort of seen what they did and tried to do as best we could the same.
I love it.
If anyone else wants to do it, go and read that book, Let My People Go Surfing, and then read the next one, which is grassroots tools for activists, and then apply that to your business model. And yeah, it's all mapped out, like it's all there if you need it.
Yeah, and it's honestly what's going to be a big focus for Ocean Impact Organisation is instilling that, because having spent a decade in that not-for-profit space and in that traditional environmental action activism, there's this terrible narrative around that you can't do good and make money. And that, to me, it's no wonder we're still in this predicament if we continue to let that attitude prosper.
Yeah, but that doesn't even make sense anyway. Like, the same person that says you're making money and you're not doing good, like, they make money. Like, unless you're living under a rock or in a cave or something and not have anything attached to money, like, money makes the world go round. You know, it's just what you choose to do with it. And if you're a greedy pig, or if you want to do good or social good, like, we didn't want to be greedy pigs, so, you know, let's just put it to good. And we, you know, I benefit from it. Like, it's less shit in the water, and my kids will benefit from it, and you and the animals and everyone. Like, you know, money makes things happen.
And now everyone has an opportunity very soon to own a little chunk of Seabin. So let's talk about where you're at now with the equity crowdfunding campaign and what you hope to achieve through this process.
Yeah. So, I'd heard about equity crowdfunding, and I never really gave it much attention because it sounded like a bit a bit too maybe far-fetched or something, or I don't know. I wasn't sure if I wanted like thousands of people to get involved, but then just through decision making, and maybe people didn't share our values and they wanted to reshape us or to be what they wanted us to be, and then what happened was we had quite a few pretty substantial offers of investment for, it was a lot of money. Some of the people were sort of talking to us about, and some people wanted to buy the business and other people wanted majority, and then other people wanted this and that, and they weren't the right people, they weren't the right fit. Some of them were really nice people, but maybe a bit more, I don't know, conservative or traditional, because we were investing in not-for-profit things. Probably doesn't sit well with some people. And another reason why we were very politely, it's like, oh, thanks, but no thanks. And, we kind of explored a few things a bit further just to see what we were worth, like, it's quite flattering when someone offers you, like, quite a lot of figures to buy your business or something that you're just, I don't know, like, you're just in the trenches, man, like, and then someone's putting a value on it, you're like, oh, cool. And but the biggest driver for, like, kind of politely declining was that we hadn't sold that many products yet, because we only just started. So in the first 18 months, we sold 20 months, sorry, it would be like 860 units, but we were getting offers before we'd even started the commercial sales, and we're like, well, we don't even know what we're worth. Maybe we're worth like this much now, but what are we worth in 1 year? And so, and another thing was, like, we just wanted to see if we could do it, like, give it a good hard go, like, and so we said, well, let's do 1 year of sales and let's see what happens, and then after that year, let's reevaluate our situation. And in that, the first year and a half, as a startup, everything drags out over a timeline, and we did pretty well, and so that gave us a valuation of what we physically and tangibly could work off. It's not like we didn't take any made up numbers of brand marketing or this and that, brand value, where you just make shit up, and hopefully it applies and no one asks too many questions and stuff. And we've got like a spreadsheet, a sales sheet, and then we use the projections off that. And then we realized that community drives our business model. And when we did the crowdfunding, we handed out stickers and hats and stuff, and thank yous, and I was like, I went to Dave, the business partner, CFO, the finance guy, he's like, he levels me out. I get the crazy ideas, and he's like, mate, rah, rah, rah. And he's like, nah, not gonna do it, nah. And I was like, no, mate, this is great. The last time we gave out stickers and hats, this time we can give out equity, and we can have people financially vested, financially incentivized. They can join our mission. They can really have that little bit of purpose, by buying into something that is really for good. And he's like, nah. And then for 10 months or more, I've been pushing him, and then he come around, and we partnered up with Birchall and crowdfunding platform, equity crowdfunding, and we set the goal that we're going to raise 3 mil with a minimum raise of 1 mil. And when we're launched, we're in the last week of our expressions of interest campaign, and already we've got like nearly 1,700 investors that have signed up, and these are people that are like sophisticated, I don't know, like central CBD investor types, and then you got 18-year-olds that have never done anything like this before in their life, but they want to have something with more purpose, and then you got grandparents who have a little bit of money and they want to sort of invest in something that can help their grandkids. And the way we did it was we set the minimum investment at $250 so that it's affordable for a lot of people, and if everything goes to shit, like if this thing goes belly up, if you lose $250, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to lose the house, or hopefully you don't. And it was, let's keep it affordable and let's be very strategic and get a lot of people involved so that we can get more voices when we try to lobby the local government or the mayor or member of parliament or state or federal government. The more voices, the more attention gets paid. So that's the kind of idea.
Love it. So hit me with the dates, and obviously acknowledging that when people listen to this podcast, it may have closed by then. And so what sort of next for people that are interested in having a share of the equity of Seabin?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. If you go to our website, there's links. So if you go to seabinproject.com, there's links that will take you to the virtual page where we have our platform. How long is that open for?
The dates it'll be open for?
Oh yeah, sorry mate. So the live offer comes on the 13th of February.
Yep.
And then on the 20th of February we make that fully public and we start to market it.
Yep.
And then on the 19th of March, the offer closes.
Okay.
Whether we're successful or not, it's like.
So if it's pre-19 March, you've still got a chance to get involved. But do you foresee that this will be the start of potential offerings in the future, or you really just don't know yet? What are your hopes and expectations for taking this journey of crowd equity?
I was mentioned before that Dave was pretty hesitant and pretty against all this, and he's really he's gone the other way, full extreme,
full backflip.
And then he starts he's on the phone, Pete, we're getting a lot of traction. We got 1,600 people registered, and this is a really good experience or a sounding board for future raises. And then he starts talking about an IPO. And properly going public on a stock exchange and just taking it next level. We're trying to raise 3 million this time, and I really hope we're successful. And if we can do it this time, then maybe we can go 10x in 3 years or something. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got big plans. There's 192 countries that have issues with the pollution, and we operate in 52, but it's still an early adopter phase, and it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of resource and a lot of smart people and a lot of support from the community to start really making a bigger impact. So, yeah.
That's it. There's a great deal of watercourses and waterways in the world that can utilise this. You just got to think about how many bins you encounter in public, let alone how many stormwater outlets, let alone how many points. I mean, the scaling up of this operation is mental. So, sort of where to next, mate? I know there's some new versions of the bin in sort of ideation and production. So talk to me a little bit about where next as we start to come to the end of this great conversation.
Yeah, the next steps, we're off to the city tonight for the last Patagonia store in Sydney here. We do the Expression of Interest event. And then, we've signed up with an Australian design engineering and production company called Evolve. They're based up in Brisbane, and we've signed the contract with those guys to create the next technology for us, the Seabins 6.0, and we're pretty bloody excited about that because they're a really smart group, they're really nice guys, and they're really, really good at their jobs, and we can be cost competitive producing something in Australia to China or a few other of the more traditional places of manufacturing. And but the best thing is that we've been working with the boys over at Barreo in California who specialise in recycling used fishing nets, and so we're going to be introducing the fishing nets into the production of the Seabins, phasing out virgin plastics, and then essentially kind of start closing a loop on plastics, I guess. We're catching it, and the next step is to start reusing what we already have. A few things on the go.
So the more successful you are, the more you can just keep to innovate and iterate and just constantly improve the design, functionality, the opportunities of where to put Seabins.
Yeah, well, for us, we think it's going to be a pretty successful gig, and the mission is good, and if we are successful, it means that we can invest back into the company, scale up the technology, optimize it, add the sensors, add some optical monitoring, and just get smarter. But all that takes money, and so as we grow and as the revenue comes in, we can reinvest that back into the company to make more of a positive impact. I don't need 3 houses or 2, I just want one. You know, I got 2 kids under 2, and I really want to support them and, you know, give them all I can. So, you know, reinvesting in the company and reinvesting in the team, and, you know, reinvesting in the environment and education is our top priority.
I love it. And obviously, you know, everyone's encouraged to go and dig deep into Seabin, but the work that you're doing on data and turning this technology into smart connected technology to get that rapid information, all of that stuff, incorporating the circularity, like everything about what these guys are doing is just heading in the absolute best direction. So we're at the end now. I'm going to bundle up these last sort of few questions I had here. So a chance for any last words, but I really wanted to sort of touch on these two in like, what would you say to people out there who are a bit like you? This podcast is for people, a lot of them passionate about the oceans, but also the entrepreneurs and the innovators and the founders out there, and maybe you could blend that in a little bit of like sort of what would you do differently. So I don't know if you want to bundle those together.
Yeah, if anyone's like me, I slightly feel sorry for you. You know, I wouldn't do anything different, because if I did, I probably wouldn't be sitting here with you having this chat, and we wouldn't be where we are. You know, everyone's here for a reason, and, you know, where you are in your life is where you should be, is my opinion. So I wouldn't do anything wrong, anything different, but, you know, because every time we failed, we learnt something. And if we didn't learn something, it's because we were ignorant or we were lazy and we didn't try to find out what the solution was of why we failed. And so, you know, we failed, and we failed fast, and then we learnt from it. And so that was a really, as a shitty experience as it was a really positive one. But if I had to give out like any hints and tips to anyone, if you have even if you have an average idea and you can do an amazing job at it, go for it. If you have an amazing idea, go for it as well. You know, you could be doing the same thing, but you just do it better than someone else. You know, just do it, go for it. And if you're going to quit your job, you know, if you got a salary coming in and you're going to quit your job to do this little dream, save your money and make a plan. Because if you don't save your money or make a plan and you quit your job to follow your dream, you're going to run out of money, and then 3 weeks later you'd be asking for your job back, and then you're not following your dream. And yeah, so I don't know, like, yeah, make a plan and start saving your money, and then look into the crowdfunding, look at community support. And I think Richard Branson said this. He's like, when someone comes to him for an investment, he always asks himself, is this for the good of the planet, or is this for the good of someone else? You know, or is this just a little gimmick or a toy that some dude wants to make that, you know, is not really necessary? And I mean, you don't have to do that, but if you do something that's good for the planet or for someone else or enables a better value of life, like, it's going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
Maybe a bigger chance of success. And ask stupid questions. Like, sometimes they are stupid questions, but you start to learn. Like, so many times I've been in a room with like all these business people, and they're like using these business terminology, and I'm like, oh man, like, what does that word mean? And I'll be like, excuse me, you just said this word, like, what does it actually mean? And then they'll be like, okay, they stop, you know, explain it, and I'll be writing shit down. Or sometimes I'm too scared to ask the question, so I'll be Googling under the table. And yeah, just, you know, ask questions and just try and be as true and authentic as you can, and as transparent as you can. And I think that, you know, if you're true to yourself, like, you got nothing to hide, and even if you do fail, you've given it a good hard go, and, you know, a fair go. So I don't know, there's a few things, but
Mate, I've enjoyed this conversation so much. You know, you've definitely been an inspirational figure for so many years, but I think getting to spend this time with you and dig that little bit deeper, it just elevates the respect I have for you. So congratulations on everything you've achieved to date and on your next adventures. I'll leave it over to you to say last words and a call to action for anyone listening if they want to learn more or get involved with Seabin.
Yeah, I'll first off, you know, thanks for having me, and you know, you and Nick, like, taking on this new project, challenge, milestone in your lives. to help the environment as well and support other people with great ideas. So, hats off to you guys as well. And thanks for having me, and whoever's listening, thanks for listening. And if you want to know more, come and visit us at the seabinproject.com website. And I don't know, I guess everyone, you all have the power to make a change as well. Everyone has the power to refuse single-use items and refuse the bag. And I guess, if everyone sort of started to take their own initiatives instead of waiting for other people to do it, this is going to fast track a cleaner oceans as well. So, maybe let's leave off with that, that everyone has a responsibility as much as the corporate that makes the product, the consumer, the person that, the end user has as much responsibility as anyone else to be a part of a solution. So if we all, just did those little baby steps ourselves, this will fast track what we all want, which is cleaner oceans and a better value of life.
Good place to end, mate. Thanks so much for your time.
No worries, thank you.
Hey, now can you feel it? She's calling out your name. She's raging blue, she's dressed in white. She's everything. They say it's jobs, they crave the power, dollar signs and drilling towers. But our kids, black and seas, can't take the ocean out of me. Take me to the water, I can't live without it. Take me to the water, oh, 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 oh. Take me to the water, I won't live without it, oh. Can't take the ocean out of me. Hey, now do you know she'll bring you to your knees? Bring it far to her heart and leave it hard. And every fiber of my being needs to know she said. She said, gotta know, she said, gotta know, gotta know, gotta know. Say it's jobs, say it's power. I just know it's only so for our family, for our future. Can take the ocean out of